Vinny, give us your football
All
talk.
right, here comes my football talk. I have 4 topics I want to go over.
All right.
Let's go with number 1. Now we know that running backs are necessary. They're not irrelevant. But what is the future of running backs? Are we looking at 5-year stints? Are big contracts for running backs worth it? And can a handful of running backs stay dominant in the NFL for years? What's your thoughts about running backs right now in the NFL?
Well, we're seeing a few running backs who've stayed relevant for long periods of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
McCaffrey, Derrick Henry. Josh Jacobs kind of. There's not a whole lot though. Really, truly, there's not. Aaron Jones in Green Bay has stayed pretty relevant. But then you've got Ezekiel Elliott. He's irrelevant now. Completely fallen off.
I think we forgot. No, I don't think Ezekiel Elliott's the worst one. Dalvin Cook
Completely falling off.
I don't even think he's third. He's third string, I think, in New York. That's how bad.
Well, technically, I think he was the starter at first.
No, he was the starter, and then he moved all the way to third.
I think him and Michael Carter is more of a pass catching back. Dalvin Cook does some carries. He hasn't been any good though. But Kareem Hunt's having an interesting bounce back season.
Without Chubb, he got more touches.
But
also Chubb's gone out though too. So
Saquon, when he's healthy, stays relevant. And I do think though, it's harder for running backs right now. They get injured pretty easily, and teams view them as very replaceable. So
my question is, how long does a team think that they can keep a running back for? And if it's a good running back, let's not say T-Mac,
but unless you're a legendary running back, teams aren't going to pay.
Right.
The only running backs that I would pay in the NFL, right now, I think there's only one.
C-Mac.
And it would be McCaffrey. Maybe I need to see more from Bijan. Bijan was supposed to be some great player. The past 3 weeks, he's barely touched the football.
I think it's
Jahmyr Gibbs looks pretty good, but again, I haven't seen.
But then David Montgomery too, but he's injured.
Yeah.
So
I think right now it's CMC. Maybe Devin Achane. We'll see what happens when he gets
injured.
back.
Yeah, but he was a 3rd round pick and he got injured, and we'll see how he comes back. So now my next question is, how dominant can a top 15 running back stay dominant in the NFL?
How long, you mean?
2-3 seasons and that's it, and then they fall off like no tomorrow?
I think the shelf life of a running back it's around 5 to 7 years.
All right. And then do you think
Kamara's been around for a while.
Oh yeah, Kamara's been around for a while. Yeah. So my question is,
Joe Mixon's been average for a very long time.
But but average right now is good because not a lot of running backs are easily replaceable like C-Mac. And so having average is actually good. So my question is, what is the problem with running back? Is it now does the NFL offensive coordinators have to change how they use running backs? Or is it we have just come to the point where replacing running backs is going to be the norm, and you're not going to keep them for more than 5-7 years?
Well, I think part of it is that it's more of a passing league right now.
Yeah.
So back in the day,
it used to be a running league.
Every team had a good running back back in the day. Now it's 10 to 15 teams have a good running back. A lot of teams, I think, don't think they have a good running back. A lot of teams have younger running backs. Running backs do a lot more pass catching these days. A lot of the good running backs, their stats actually come from receiving. Their touchdowns come from receiving. But, they are technically still running backs. I think another part of it, though, is, defenses, they've gotten really, really used to, the basic kind of running back type of play.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you're a unicorn, the way Derrick Henry is, you're not, running backs, we don't see running backs go for 20, 30 yards on a play anymore. When I was younger, I felt like that was a lot more common. You would see guys get the ball on a handoff and barrel 20 yards down the field. That happens maybe 2 or 3 times a week now in the NFL, and it's usually the same couple of guys who are doing it. So I don't know. I think it's a change of the game.
I think you might be right. Now moving on to my second point discussion I want to talk about.
And this one is ridiculous. Get ready to hear this one, guys.
Should we change how we choose our MVP? Should we keep it the same? People are selected, they choose MVP. Should we give an MVP score? Or should we dissolve the award? And I don't believe this, but this is just something I want to throw out there. Do we dissolve the award no longer call it an MVP and then have multiple MVPs for like offense and defense, or like what is like, because MVP is just a quarterback race, and sometimes that's just not fun. It's not fun to be like, oh, who just has the best quarterback. It's just a popularity contest. Like sometimes a quarterback is going to win it, but they're not the best like player. They're not the MVP. They're just the best quarterback, or everyone likes him, like Mahomes. Like Mahomes probably going to win the MVP this year. Does he deserve the MVP? Probably not, but he probably will win it.
Well, right now he doesn't deserve it. Right now, I'll tell you who deserves it is Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
But
we'll see.
Well, yeah. So look, people. I hate the way people talk. What people say. Well, the MVP is just a quarterback award. Yes, that's because the most important position in football is the quarterback. Hence, the most valuable player is going to be the best quarterback. There's only one position in the NFL that actually makes more of a 1 or 2 point advantage. Like when you look at the odds, the Vegas odds, your starting receiver goes down, the odds might change by a point, right? An offensive tackle goes down, the odds might change by half a point, right? A defensive guy goes down, the odds might change by a point. If the quarterback gets injured, the odds are going to go down significantly. The line is going to shift significantly when the quarterback goes down. That speaks to the fact that the quarterback the offense runs through the quarterback. There's only one player on the field. There's 2 players on the field who are going to touch the ball every single play, the center and the quarterback. Like, that is what matters. There's only one other position in any sport that touches the ball every single play of the game. That's the catcher in baseball. Like, it's very rare for a position to be that important to the game. And, I mean, that is why the quarterback is that important. So when you're the best quarterback, you therefore become the most valuable player, in my opinion. And so you're saying we should give an MVP score? I mean, I think what they should do, in my opinion, is instead they should add some more awards in there to give more recognition to other players. Because it's funny, they have MVP, best quarterback. Offensive player of the year has now become best wide receiver. Occasionally give it to the running back, but usually now that one goes to receivers. It's like, okay, well, really, the best quarterback should also be the best offensive player, right? But they don't want to give it to the same guy, so they give it to somebody else. So here's what I think they should do. This is so in baseball, they give out their MVP award, they give out their Cy Young, and then they have these awards called Silver Slugger awards, and they give a Silver Slugger one for each position, right? So because obviously, like, most of the time in baseball, the right fielders and the first baseman are going to hit more home runs than the catchers and the second baseman, right? The second baseman are usually smaller. The catchers sometimes left-handed, right? You're getting different builds of players at different positions. Center fielders, usually faster guys, not necessarily muscular guys. Right fielders, designated hitters, those are the guys who are hitting bombs. But they don't want to only honor the right fielder every year. They don't want to only honor the stud shortstop who wins the MVP. They want to give every position a chance, so they give each position a Silver Slugger. The best hitter at first base gets one. The best hitter at second base gets one. They do the same thing with fielding. The best fielder at each position gets an award. Nobody thinks, I mean, it's not like they're huge awards, but they're still good to have, and it still adds to a player's resume. So I'd say what you do is you keep your MVP award, give it to the best player, and then and you keep your Defensive Player of the Year award, but you can add some positional-based awards. Like, how about, for example, give an award to the guy who you think is the best receiver. Give an award to the guy who you think is the best running back. And you can make these awards, you can name them after a stud running back, Make it off the top of my head, like, who's a great receiver? Jerry Rice. Let's make the Jerry Rice Receiving Excellence Award instead of calling it. And then we can make the Rob Gronkowski Tight End Award. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, give each position a chance to shine, and that way we don't have to always have the same conversation of, well, the only position that can get the award is quarterback, so we don't even have to discuss who the best of any other position is. Like, that stuff is interesting.
I do agree with you. I mean, I like the idea behind it. My thought would give an MVP score. So in soccer, after every match, out of 10, a player is like given a score. So I was thinking after every game in the regular season, people would score how a player did, and then at the end of the season, you give a seasonal score to how overall the player played, and then you like tally up all the games.
I do that. I have the offensive index. I do that.
Yeah, so basically what you have, but
Except
like
mine's not out of 10.
but for like MVP or something like that. So it's like it seems like more important. So it's not just like all the time quarterback. Now I get the quarterback is the most important player on the field. Don't get me wrong. I'm not denying that. It's not. I don't want to not give credit to quarterbacks. It's just that when you just look at MVP, you want to make it more of a fair race, in my opinion. You want people who like defensive ends who give like 20 plus sacks a season, or they give wide receivers who have over 2,000 yards a season, or running backs who give over 1,800 yards a season. Something like that have great seasons, and then they still won't be considered for the reward. I think that sometimes is a little ridiculous. So I feel like we should try to do something. Because I think the NFL has a problem with awards. I don't think the awards are like fair, or there's just not enough to give people recognition for what they do this season.
Yeah, no, that's why I think add some awards in there. It's not like many people are watching the NFL awards show anyways.
That's true.
So yeah, let's move on. What's your next one?
Number 3. So it's been 9 weeks. We've seen the Eagles play 9 games. Brotherly shove or the tush push, whatever you want to call it. Yes or no? Skill or broken?
It's 100% skill.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. A lot of teams who have tried to do the tush push and have failed miserably.
Yep.
And the Eagles, it's not like it's perfect for them. They got stopped on it a couple times. The Commanders actually stopped them on it.
Yeah.
I think Dallas stopped them once on it as well. But they're taking advantage of the fact that they have the best offensive line, I think, in football.
They do.
They have Jason Kelsey's going to go to the Hall of Fame. And Lane Johnson's going to go to the Hall of Fame. And their other guy, Jordan? I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce.
But they also used to have Marcus Peters on that right tackle, left tackle, whatever.
This is an offensive line that is legendary. Mm-hmm. It is 3 really, really good players, as well as their backups would start for most teams in the whole line. Their backup D linemen would also start for most teams. Yeah. They're so solid up front on both sides of the ball. But no, they're taking advantage of what they have, and they also have a quarterback in Jalen Hurts who's a big, strong quarterback.
Like Cam Newton was.
He's okay taking those hits. He's okay diving into the pile and taking one for the team. So no, I don't think it's broken at all. I think
it is totally skill. I totally agree with you, Levi. I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this up is because so many people, after 2 weeks of seeing the Eagles doing this, wanted to ban it. And I'm looking at this, it's like, you can't ban this. Because it's the same thing, like the flea flicker, the lateral, behind the back pass to passing again. It's just a unique play. And you just can't get rid of it just because some team does it really well. And there's nothing that they take advantage of. There's no rule they take advantage of that benefits their favor. Everything is skill, and people have, like you said, try to replicate it. But then you can't do it unless you have a legendary offensive line, or you have just a great enough offensive line, or you're facing just the worst defensive line known to man.
Yeah, like even like the 49ers. The 49ers have a good O-line. They have an amazing fullback, great tight ends. I don't even think the 49ers can pull this off, though.
It'd be hard.
Because Brock Purdy, his build is so different to Jalen Hurts' build. I mean, Jalen Hurts, I don't know. And you know what? Am I a little bit biased towards the Eagles' offensive line because they've now put out 2 Christmas albums? Yes, maybe I'm a little bit biased because that's a pretty freaking cool. But at the same time, no, like, I'm a huge supporter of this.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think a team that could try, just because they have one really good offensive line, is the Colts with Quentin Nelson. I mean, Quentin Nelson is a beast, best left guard in the game right now. They could probably give this a try, and when Anthony Richardson, right? That's Anthony Richardson?
Yeah.
And when Anthony Richardson comes back, he definitely has that Cam Newton build, that Jalen Hurts build. They could probably do the tush push or the brotherly shove just as effectively as maybe not as effectively, but do it just as well as the Eagles can do it. So yes, thank you so much for agreeing with me that it's skill. I really don't like when people say the ban it, because it's just a creative play, and you cannot ban creativity in the NFL. That's just not good.
Yeah.
Now, my last discussion I want to talk about. There's been I wouldn't say a lot of buzz. Richard Sherman and on what's that podcast that he's usually on?
The one that he has?
Not the one he has, though. The one he usually goes on. Skips.
Oh,
yeah, that's
Undisputed.
Right. That's right. Undisputed. There we go. Undisputed. Skip Bayless asked Richardson what's the hardest position in the NFL? And he said the cornerback. And so that sparked my thought, my train. What is the hardest position in the NFL? What is your take on the hardest position in the NFL?
Well, I think it divides into a couple of different areas because I don't think there's really one most difficult.
That's true.
Position. I think there's a most important. So I have quarterback most important, and then I think the O-line and D-line are the second and third most important.
That is true.
And those are the three things that really can control a game. Like, it's good to have great receivers. It's good to have a great cornerback. Those don't make or break your game, right? Maybe a great receiver can make your game, but you have to have a really good one. And coaching also. But as far as hardest, physically, the hardest position, I don't think you can really disagree with this. The physically hardest position to play has got to be the offensive line. I mean, you've got 280-pound monsters who are also speed demons coming right at you with one goal in mind is to get past you, to sack the player behind you. And your one job is to stop this freak of nature. Like, I can't even imagine having to block a guy like Myles Garrett. Like, and these O-linemen, like, you look at them like, they're just big fat guys. No, they're not. No, these guys are athletes. They have to put on weight, but it's muscular weight.
Oh yeah.
And they're getting banged up every play. They're literally getting it. They're the only position that is getting attacked every single play.
Yeah.
And they're getting their heads banged up. I mean, there's a reason O-linemen, they literally die at a younger age than any other position because of the trauma they go through. So that's the physically hardest.
Yes.
Okay. The technically hardest position, I think, as far as like having to have technical skill, I would actually agree. I think it's the defensive back.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying just cornerback. I think cornerback, maybe safety might even be a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
But those guys, it's very much a technical skill because you have to read the quarterback and you have to follow your receiver.
Yeah.
And you have to know exactly what defense you're playing. So that, I think, is the technically hardest skill. I mean, you have to be really, really intricate at what you do. There's so many little intricacies to being a defensive back. Like, you have to have the timing completely down. You also have to know how to tackle. And then you've got what is the most mentally difficult position to play, and that I believe has to be the quarterback.
Oh, quarterback. 100%.
Because the offense runs through the quarterback. You have to understand the playbook better than anybody else.
Not just the playbook,
you have
those
to
calls.
Understand the entire offense, the entire offensive system. So I think it breaks down. Like, the quarterback has to be the smartest position. The O-line most physically demanding. And then defensive backs is the most technically skilled position.
Yeah.
So you can argue however you want, but I'm not going to say which one because they're all very different things.
I totally agree with that entire analysis. I mean, remember you said the most mentally challenging position was the quarterback. That instantly reminded me of that interview that Tua Tagovailoa had, and the reporter asked, like, he was like, "Oh, how hard is it to get the playoff in time?" And Tua just like, "Oh, I'm going to give you a call," and it was like 5-10 seconds of like I forget what the call was, but it was just so hard to remember, and you have to repeat that in like a few seconds and like say it so fast so that you can get that offensive line you can set up.
Yeah,
it's hard. Like, that is a very mentally hard position to play. So I totally agree with your answer, 100%.
And this is and the whole playbook thing. That's one of the reasons why I really like the NFL. Like, people, one of people's big complaints, I think, about football is they're like, well, there's so many breaks in the game. I mean, Levi, soccer is more interesting because they never stop playing. Oh, well, basketball, I don't get me wrong. I don't hate on basketball. I do like basketball.
Yeah.
But I think football is a better sport than basketball, in my opinion, because the NFL, the ways that, the play designs and the offense, like, I don't even really understand how most NFL offensive systems work.
Mm-hmm.
I like, they are so complex and complicated, and it's like, basketball, they have plays in basketball, but it's not the same. It's not the same as football.
Yeah.
The strategy behind football is unlike any other sport, and that's what I'm so drawn to about it.
Yeah. I think if you love strategy, you love to face one another in like a chess match, football is the way to go.
Yeah.
Offensive coordinator versus defense coordinator, that's just
it's not
hard.
Just toughness. Like, people think that football is just a bunch of guys tackling each other. That's
There's a
not
lot
what
of thought going into football.
It's a strategic masterpiece of a game.
Absolutely.